Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is for the new moon in Cancer, which happens to be a solar eclipse. And this is happening in my central time zone on July 12th at 10:01 p.m. If you live on the East Coast, you get that 111 happening. And if you live in Europe and other places, it's going to be on the 13th. And so this solar eclipse in Cancer is dealing with issues involving new beginnings with real estate. So this could be if you've been trying to sell a home and it's been very challenging, all of a sudden you might find that it just goes through. Something happens. Because remember that solar and lunar eclipses are times when, as new and full moons, they're happening and they're beyond our control. They're kind of fated to occur. So with the usual new moon, we would set intentions and we'd say, I'm planting these seeds around real estate, around family matters. Maybe, if you're a woman, I want to become a mother and I'm going to set an intention that that's going to happen. But with a solar eclipse, you might find that you're pregnant and you didn't even try. It might even be a surprise. That's where I'm going with this. So in terms of the influence of these eclipses, they can be felt before the actual date, so before the 12th or 13th. I'm recording this on the 1st of July, so even on the 1st, you may have some of these events transpire, but even a month afterwards, some people say beyond that, you may see the fallout, or I mean, fallout doesn't sound good, but the effects of the eclipse. So just be conscious of that to see if you can make the connection, because it could certainly be there. Other things that can transpire during a Cancer solar eclipse are having more self-esteem, being more confident within yourself, having more of a good relationship with your past, with your childhood. I think this is a big one because you may have a breakthrough where perhaps you've even been in therapy for years, and all of a sudden you put the pieces together and you've experienced that healing. And with this solar eclipse, the healing can be like a tidal wave where it just washes over you. It's not just, oh yeah, I am feeling better about this. I mean, it can be like a massive change. And emotional growth in general. The feeling that you have really overcome a certain issue in your life. And with Cancer, there's often this issue of being codependent. Cancer is it's like the sign of the mother. And if you think of the mother who's overprotective, she will be so, a little bit too involved with her children's welfare and well-being to the point where she gets obsessed about it. So we can do that same type of behavior with our partners, for instance. And what we do is that we impede their sense of personal growth. You may heal this within yourself, and perhaps you've been trying like crazy to do so, and it seems like nothing you do works. And I want to say one thing about that, because a lot of times when I hear people talking about, I'm working on my marriage, I'm working on myself, I think of this very aggressive energy that is almost like controlling. I really believe that we must not be controlling in our lives. when we are struggling with something, that we have to be as easy as possible. And that seems counterintuitive, because if you're struggling with a quote unquote bad habit, you may feel like you have to exert your will on that area of your life in order to conquer it. But what ends up happening is that you are so controlling that you create resistance. Think about when you want something really badly and you double down and it still doesn't happen, and it almost seems to make things worse. That's kind of where I'm going with that. Because really, when you're trying to force an issue, like think about if you're trying to get a friend or a partner to do something you want to do. And it seems like the more you try to push them, the more they get stubborn and they don't want to do it. It's because no one wants to feel forced. No one wants to feel like somebody is being too aggressive with them. And they want that freedom, that kind of like space to be able to tell you yes or no. And the universe is the same way, in my opinion, is that it kind of resents us when we are being so intense about our desires. And I think it's because we're here for the purpose of expansion. And sometimes we think we want something that is good for us that isn't. And the universe wants to show us a better way. And by not allowing us to have a certain thing that we want, it forces us to surrender. And some people have a lot of challenges with the issue of surrender. And so in a sense, not being codependent is surrendering. If you have a spouse who has alcoholism or other addiction, and you're trying so hard to make them stop, maybe you're hiding bottles or you're hiding pills, you're not going to stop it that way. You have to surrender. And it's so counterintuitive and it seems bizarre. But once you surrender, you relinquish, or I don't know if you'd call it relinquishing, but the power that their addiction has over you is null and void. Because codependency is a sick dance between two people. And the person who is on the other end of it is getting something out of the bargain themselves. You're hyper-focusing on them. You're not focusing on your own dreams. So once you put the focus back on yourself, you will see your dreams multiply, your successes multiply. And it's much more likely that that person will get healed from their addiction, because they realize that life goes on and that you're not going to save them from themselves. Another thing that this eclipse can bring is a healthy attitude and behavior pattern with food. Food is our nourishment, and this is part of what the fourth house in Cancer is all about. Think again of the mother wanting to nourish her children. And as adults, we have to take over from that figure of the mother and nourish ourselves. And I would extend this to other areas of our life. How do we nourish ourselves? Do we go for a quick fix, whether it be entertainment or whether it be food? Do we go for something that is easy, but that is not filling, that doesn't build us up? Nourishing foods, it's kind of interesting to me. When I make kale salad and I have it, I feel nourished. And I always say to myself, why don't I buy this more often? But kale is a very intense green. And it's easier to eat other things sometimes because it has a taste that is not something that is easy to appreciate sometimes. I'm sure there are people that just automatically love it and they just, have it all the time. But it's something that is kind of an acquired taste, or at least you have to be conscious enough to enjoy it, I think. It's easier to eat some other things that are right there and give us that entertainment of our taste buds, but don't truly nourish us. And I think this can be an amazing time to really explore diet. Not diet meaning losing weight, diet meaning eating style, and how that can enhance our lives. Not just our physical health, but our emotional health, our spiritual life, for sure. People don't think about their spiritual life. Your pineal gland. What nourishes your pineal gland? That can provide you with that third eye vision. So, in talking and going back to issues with emotions, I think emotional growth is something that a lot of us hope for. And I think most of us always feel let down when we allow ourselves to express ourselves in immature ways that don't serve us. And we say to ourselves, we berate ourselves, why did I react like that? But what we have to understand is that there are still things to heal. And just knowing what those things are can make all the difference in the world. Some of the things that you may have to heal, you are not consciously aware of. And this is why it's important to sit with yourself and to be present with yourself and not to allow yourself constant distraction. Distraction not only through the internet or through social interactions, but it can be through your work. And that can be one of the biggest causes of escapism. And you get away with it, not only to yourself, but in the eyes of others, because you're being quote unquote productive. But if you're having outbursts that seem to come out of nowhere, if you are feeling mood swings where all of a sudden a little thing triggers you and you have no idea why you're making such a big deal out of something, maybe somebody said something and on the surface, you know that it's not enough to trigger such a strong reaction. Or maybe you see something on the news or you hear a song and it just puts you into this emotional spin and you have no idea what is causing it. It's very likely that something needs to be unearthed within you that is of an emotional nature. And so be conscious around the time of this solar eclipse that you can get to the bottom of some of those things that may still be affecting you on a very deep level. So looking at some of the other stuff that is going around at the time of this new moon in Cancer, I'm going to, instead of saying solar eclipse, I say new moon because sometimes people think they're two different things. But we are actually having beautiful trines from the sun to Jupiter and the moon to Jupiter, which can be great for prosperity, can be great for positive thinking. Anything that you wish for, that you want very much to have, allow your heart to run free. Mercury is forming a square to Jupiter, but even hard angles to Jupiter, I think, can be still very good, because this suggests grandiose ideas. But, you know, you've heard the expression, dream big, right? Just make sure that you don't promise more than you can deliver. Likewise, Mars is making a square, is forming a square to Jupiter. So I see evidence with Mars square Jupiter, Mars square Uranus, that even though this is a solar eclipse, a new moon rather than a full moon, you may observe around that date a lot of behavior that kind of mimics a full moon. There have been times in the recent past where this phenomenon has occurred for me, where I have been out and about and it's been a new moon, and the energy seems very much like a full moon, the full moon energy. And to me, the full moon energy is so apparent. I don't even have to be like consciously thinking about full moons, and I will notice all kinds of really over-the-top behavior, and then it's only then that I connect the dots. With Mars square Jupiter, people can have this sense of overacting, overreacting to whatever's around them. And don't be sucked into their drama. If somebody seems like, and even somebody you know who normally isn't like that, who seems like they are being a little bit over the top, you know, you can say, this isn't like you, you know, you're taking this too far. But if they refuse to stop, you can always leave. You don't have to continue to be in their presence. Mars square Uranus can be this pent-up desire for freedom. And one thing that I want to really emphasize is that Cancer is a cardinal sign at the end of the day. A lot of people see Cancer as passive because water signs and earth signs are feminine, and feminine signs are passive because it's yin energy. Yin is more internalized. It's not out in the world like yang, fire, air signs, okay? But it's the cardinal sign. So cardinal signs take action. And this period of time can be particularly eventful because it's in the cardinal modality, this eclipse. We're also having the North Node enter Cancer, come November, and the same thing applies. That sense of things happening. Sometimes it seems like life is in this lull, uneventful period, and that's true. But then everything starts heating up. And so don't get it twisted. Don't think that because we're in Cancer, it's a water sign, that we're all going to be nesting. And in the Northern Hemisphere, it's the heart of the summer. There's a lot of people on vacation. And in the Southern Hemisphere, it's, close to the dead of winter, I think you could call it, which I would just welcome at this moment, where it is in the 90s and it's a heat wave. But there can be, even on the world stage, some massive changes. We always have to expect those, but this could definitely happen at a time when even the media might be taking vacations. This, you think about the television industry, that they have hiatuses, and summer is a time where they usually just show reruns. But this can be a very eventful time, and we are living in exciting times. So the other thing that I wanted to say, which I thought was very nice, is that the sun and moon are trining Neptune. Oh, and so is Jupiter. So this is a wonderful time for visualization and meditation. Start that meditation practice. During a water sign, it's such an intuitive time. And you can make a lot of progress because trines are very easy aspects. You don't have to exert any effort. And of course, with this solar eclipse, that's another thing of not exerting any effort. And with the moon trine Neptune, that intuitive knowing, that connection with the divine on the emotional level, which really helps you emotionally deal with others, because when you can see the God in them, even when they're acting like asshats, that's always the best. When you don't revert back into that judgmental part of yourself that sees people in their worst light, but actually in their highest expression, because Neptune is very idealistic. There will be a couple of oppositions to Pluto. Sun opposing Pluto, Moon opposing Pluto. So this sense of self-actualization and power, who holds the strings of our life? Is somebody trying to keep you down? Is somebody trying to control you in your reality? Is somebody trying to manipulate you? It's really up to you to take control of your life, but you don't do so by anything aggressive. You have to have a quiet strength. When you're screaming at the top of your lungs that you are your own person and you deserve freedom, you're playing into that drama. You're getting upset because you feel trapped by somebody else, and you don't have to be that way. There's another opposition that I think is very interesting, and that is Mars opposing the North Node. The North Node is who we came here to be. Now, in the transing version of this, it's our current status, where we are right now. And we could even say as a collective, in a sense. So if we look at the north and south nodes, the south node is the karmic past. And so there will be a conjunction between Mars and the south node. And what that can mean is that we have to watch out for the tendency to fall back on outworn modes of behavior, action. So things that we've done in the past to get our needs met, or in the collective to try to make things better, will not work. And I'm usually taught it could even be involving aggressive tendencies. So in the past, people have tried to force their will onto others, even demonstrations where people are blocking the free movement of others, like trying to keep them from exiting their office or I'm talking about like political demonstrations. Particularly lately, there have been some that they have tried to corner people and keep them from moving. Those kind of things have to be looked at because they are not necessarily the best ways to get the point across and to do what you need to do or to try to achieve what you want to achieve. The last thing I want to say when I was talking about trines is that Jupiter is trining Neptune. How wonderful for that, because to me, this is making your dreams come true. And this could be tied into the eclipse of something, again, maybe with the theme of home or the theme of family. Something, but especially with even like a material thing with Jupiter, money, material abundance, possessions, that is your dream, your ideal, coming in, flowing in. So maybe it'll be a magical time for a lot of us. I certainly hope so. And I hope that you enjoyed this. And I wish you a magical new moon solar eclipse in Cancer. Take care. Bye.